11:47 p.m. The grand ballroom at the Rose Garden estate was empty except for the soft glow of the chandeliers Mrs. Chen always left on overnight. I stood in the doorway, my phone still buzzing with unanswered calls from the hospital. Brandon had fallen down the stairs at our office. Fractured spine, they said, possibly paralyzed. I needed to get there, but Mrs. Chen had texted me 30 minutes ago with just 3 words. Come here first. Mrs. Chen owned the Rose Garden estate, the most prestigious wedding venue in Charleston. At 78 years old, she'd seen thousands of couples start their lives together, and probably just as many fall apart. She'd been my mentor since I started my wedding planning business 5 years ago, always giving me first pick of her premium dates, always recommending me to her wealthiest clients. I found her sitting in her usual armchair in the bridal suite, the one with the view of the garden. She didn't look up when I entered. Mrs. Chen, I got your message, but I really need to get to the hospital. Brandon is. Sit down, Sarah. Her voice was quiet but firm. I sat on the ottoman across from her, my keys still jangling in my hand. What's wrong? She reached into the pocket of her cardigan and pulled out a flash drive. 3 days ago, I had new security cameras installed throughout the estate. Better quality, wider angles. The company linked them to my phone so I could monitor the property remotely. She paused, her weathered hands turning the flash drive over slowly. This morning, I was reviewing footage from last night. Your partner was here. My stomach dropped. Brandon? That's impossible. Last night he was working late at our office, editing photos from the Callahan wedding. He texted me around midnight saying he was crashing on the couch there because he was too tired to drive home. Mrs. Chen's expression didn't change. He was here, with Jennifer Winters. Jennifer Winters, my former college roommate turned business rival. She'd started her own wedding planning company 2 years ago, stealing 3 of my biggest clients in the process. We hadn't spoken since. Mrs. Chen, I don't understand. Why would Brandon... Don't book the church for the Morrison wedding next month. Her interruption was sharp. Don't sign anything. Don't make any deposits. And don't tell your partner I showed you this. She pressed the flash drive into my palm and closed my fingers around it. Watch it when you're alone. Then decide what you need to do. I stared at the small piece of plastic in my hand. What's on here? The truth about your partnership, about your business, about what they've been planning. She stood up slowly, leaning on her cane. I'm sorry, dear. I know you love him. But 43 years ago, my own husband did something similar to me. I ignored the warning signs because I didn't want to believe it. I lost everything, my business, my savings, almost lost this estate. She touched my shoulder gently. Don't make my mistake. Watch the footage. Then go to the hospital if you still want to. I drove home in a daze, the flash drive burning a hole in my jacket pocket. My phone kept buzzing. Brandon's mother, his sister, the hospital. I ignored them all. My apartment was dark when I got home. I didn't bother turning on the lights. I just sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and plugged in the flash drive. The video quality was crystal clear, just like Mrs. Chen said. Timestamp, 11:43 p.m. last night. The camera angle showed the garden patio where we often set up cocktail hours for receptions. Brandon walked into frame first, looking completely fine. No limp, no injury, nothing. He was carrying a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. A minute later, Jennifer appeared, wearing a red dress I recognized from her Instagram post yesterday. I turned up the volume. Did you tell her you're working late? Jennifer's voice was playful as she accepted a glass. Same thing I tell her every Thursday. Brandon laughed, and something in my chest cracked. Every Thursday for the past 3 months, he'd claimed he was editing photos late at the office. She's so busy with clients, she never questions it. Poor Sarah, always so trusting. Jennifer's smirk made my hands curl into fists. So when are you going to tell her about the LLC? What LLC? I whispered to my empty apartment. Brandon pulled out his phone and showed Jennifer the screen. Filed the paperwork yesterday. Winters and Associates Event Planning, LLC. Your name front and center, just like you wanted. I'm listed as creative director and silent partner. And you're sure she doesn't know you've been using her client list? Her vendor contacts? Positive. I've been copying everything to my personal cloud for 6 months. Every contract, every pricing sheet, every exclusive vendor agreement she's negotiated. Once we launch next month, we'll have everything we need to undercut her on every single bid. My vision blurred. 6 months. He'd been planning this for 6 months. Jennifer moved closer to him. What about the Morrison wedding? That's a $300,000 contract. Already handled. I've been having issues with my back, seeing a specialist, building a paper trail. He grinned. In 2 days, I'm going to have a terrible accident. Serious enough that Sarah will have to focus all her attention on taking care of me instead of the business. While she's distracted, you'll swoop in, offer to take over the Morrison wedding as a favor to your old friend in her time of need. The Morrisons will be so grateful, they'll sign with you instead. And the accident? Falling down the stairs at our office. I've already loosened the railing. I'll take the fall, make sure I land right, call 911 myself. Fractured vertebrae, maybe a mild spinal injury. Nothing permanent, just enough to keep me out of commission for a few weeks while you poach her remaining clients. You're brilliant. Jennifer kissed him, and I had to look away. Once her business collapses, she'll have to sell her client list just to pay her debts. We'll buy it for pennies on the dollar, and we'll own the entire high-end wedding market in Charleston. She'll never even see it coming. I closed the laptop before I could watch more. My phone buzzed again. Brandon's mother. Sarah, where are you? Brandon is asking for you. The doctors say his injuries are serious. He needs you here. I looked at the time. 12:34 a.m. Brandon had staged his accident at 7 p.m., according to the voicemail from the hospital. Right on schedule. Just like he'd planned. For a long time, I just sat there in the dark. 5 years. We'd been together for 5 years. We'd built this business together from nothing, or at least, I thought we had. I'd given him a 50% stake in the company because I trusted him, because I loved him, because he'd proposed to me 6 months ago and I'd said yes. The engagement ring on my finger suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I could go to the hospital right now, pretend I didn't know, play the devoted fiancé while he played the injured victim, watch him manipulate me while Jennifer dismantled everything I'd worked for. Or I could do what Mrs. Chen had done 43 years ago when she'd faced a similar betrayal. I could fight back. I was a wedding planner. My entire career was built on attention to detail, contingency planning, and managing crises. If there was one thing I knew how to do, it was execute a flawless event under pressure. And I was about to plan the most important event of my life, Brandon's downfall. First, I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. I spent the rest of the night going through every file on our shared business server. Brandon had been sloppy. He'd copied files to his personal cloud, but he'd left the access logs. I documented every single file he'd stolen, every client contact, every proprietary pricing formula I'd spent years developing. Then I checked our business bank account. My blood ran cold. Over the past 3 months, Brandon had made a series of small withdrawals, each just under the amount that would trigger a notification to me. 500 here, 800 there. Total $47,000, nearly half our operating capital. I cross-referenced the dates with our calendar. Every withdrawal corresponded with a day Jennifer had posted about a business investment or exciting new venture on her social media. He'd been funding their competing business with my money. At 6 a.m., I finally let myself cry. Not because I still loved him. That feeling had died somewhere around 2 a.m. while reviewing the security footage for the 3rd time. I cried because I'd been so blind. All the late nights editing photos, all the Thursday evenings, he was too busy to have dinner with me. The way he'd suddenly become so interested in my upcoming client meetings, always asking detailed questions about budgets and timelines. He'd been gathering intelligence, and I'd given it to him willingly. By 7 a.m., I'd dried my tears and started making calls. My first call was to Marcus Rodriguez, my attorney and the sharpest contract lawyer in Charleston. I'd planned his daughter's quinceañera last year. He owed me a favor. Sarah, it's 7 in the morning. Is everything okay? I need to see you today. First available appointment. It's urgent. I have a 9 a.m. opening. What's this about? Partnership dissolution, theft of proprietary information, and fraud. Possibly embezzlement. I'll bring documentation. There was a pause. I'll clear my morning. Come at 8:30. My second call was to Dr. Patricia Okafor, a forensic accountant I'd met through a client's divorce case. She'd saved that client from losing everything to a cheating husband who'd been hiding assets. "Patricia, it's Sarah Chen. I need your help." By 8 a.m., I was showered, dressed in my most professional suit, and sitting in a coffee shop uploading files to a secure cloud that only I could access. Every client contract, every vendor agreement, every piece of intellectual property I'd created for the business. Then I did something that felt both terrifying and liberating. I changed all the passwords: business bank account, company email, social media accounts, cloud storage, website backend, everything. Brandon had 50% ownership in the company on paper, but I'd been the one managing all the digital infrastructure, and as of 8:15 a.m., he was completely locked out. My phone had 17 missed calls from the hospital and Brandon's family. I sent a single text to his mother. "I know about the affair and the business fraud. Tell Brandon I'll see him when he's ready to have an honest conversation." Then I blocked everyone except my attorney. At Marcus's office, I laid out everything: the security footage, the bank statements, the file access logs, the LLC formation documents I'd found in Brandon's email. Marcus watched the security footage twice, his expression growing darker each time. This is premeditated fraud. And if he's been withdrawing company funds to finance a competing business, that's embezzlement. You could press charges. I don't want him in jail. I want him out of my business and out of my life. Completely. Then we'll need to prove he breached his fiduciary duty to the partnership. The affair alone isn't enough. We need to show he actively sabotaged the business for personal gain. Marcus made notes on his legal pad. The good news is, you have evidence of all of it. The bad news is, this could get expensive. Litigation always does. I have something better than litigation. I pulled out my phone and showed him my calendar. The Morrison wedding is in 3 weeks. $300,000 contract, the biggest wedding of the season. Everyone who's anyone in Charleston society will be there, including half my potential client base for next year. I'm not following. Brandon planned to fake this injury so Jennifer could steal the Morrison contract. But what if instead of letting her steal it, I execute the most perfect, flawless, spectacular wedding this city has ever seen? What if I prove beyond any doubt that Sarah Chen Events is the only wedding planning company worth hiring? Marcus raised an eyebrow. You want to turn a wedding into a business showcase? More than that, I want to turn it into a public repudiation of everything Brandon and Jennifer tried to do. And I need your help to make sure when it's over, I have complete legal ownership of my company. We spent the next 3 hours drafting dissolution papers. Marcus found a clause in our original partnership agreement that I'd forgotten about. Any partner who engaged in competing business activities or misappropriated company assets could be forced out with zero compensation beyond return of their initial investment. Brandon had invested $5,000 when we started the company. I'd invested $45,000, plus 5 years of my life. If we can prove he formed this competing LLC while still partnered with you, and that he used company resources to do it, he forfeits his ownership stake entirely, Marcus explained. You'll own 100% of Sarah Chen Events. He gets nothing. What about the money he stole? We'll demand full repayment as part of the dissolution. If he refuses, then we file criminal charges for embezzlement. By noon, the papers were ready. Marcus agreed to serve Brandon with the dissolution notice at the hospital that afternoon. Are you sure you want to do this now? Marcus asked as I was leaving. He's injured. His family will paint you as heartless. His injury is fake, and let them think whatever they want. I'm done caring about Brandon's narrative. My next stop was the Rose Garden estate. Mrs. Chen was in her garden, pruning roses. You watched it, she said without looking up. I did. Thank you for warning me. What are you going to do? I'm going to fight, but I need your help. I sat on the bench beside her garden bed. The Morrison wedding is still on, right? They haven't canceled? They called this morning, very concerned. Jennifer Winters contacted them late last night, said she heard about Brandon's accident and wanted to offer her services if you needed help. She suggested perhaps it would be less stressful for everyone if they just transferred the contract to her company. My jaw clenched. What did they say? I told them that would be a terrible idea. that you're the best wedding planner in Charleston, and that you've never failed to deliver a perfect event, no matter what personal challenges you faced. Mrs. Chen set down her pruning shears and looked at me. But they're nervous, Sarah. The bride's mother is worried you'll be too distracted to give them your full attention. Then I need to prove I'm not distracted. I need to throw myself into this wedding so completely that no one could possibly doubt my commitment. And Brandon? Brandon is being served with dissolution papers this afternoon. By tomorrow, he'll be out of my business entirely. He can take his fake injuries and his real affair and his stolen client list to Jennifer's company. I don't need him. Mrs. Chen smiled. The first real smile I'd seen from her since this started. 43 years ago, I didn't have anyone to help me fight back. I'm glad you're not making my mistake. She stood up and dusted off her hands. The Morrison wedding will be flawless. I'll make sure of it. And if you need anything at all, you call me. That afternoon, while Brandon was being served with legal papers at Charleston General Hospital, I was meeting with the Morrison family at their estate. Victoria Morrison, the bride, was a sweet, 26-year-old who'd been planning her dream wedding since she was 8. Her mother, Catherine, was old Charleston money with expectations to match. Sarah, we're so glad you could meet with us. Catherine's smile was tight with worry. We heard about Brandon's accident. How is he? He'll recover fully. I kept my voice professional, and I want to assure you that his absence will not impact your wedding in any way. I've already reassigned all his photography responsibilities to Marcus Chen Photography, no relation, who's equally talented and already familiar with your vision. But isn't Brandon your partner? Your fiancé? Surely you'll need to spend time. Mrs. Morrison, with all due respect, I've been planning weddings for 5 years. I've managed events during hurricanes, power outages, family emergencies, and once during a food poisoning outbreak that took out half my staff. Brandon's recovery is being handled by his family and medical professionals. My job is to make sure your daughter has the perfect wedding day, and that's exactly what I intend to do. Victoria grabbed my hand. I trust you, Sarah. I've seen your work. You did the Harrison wedding last spring, right? With the cherry blossom theme? I did. That was the most beautiful wedding I've ever been to. That's when I knew I had to hire you. She looked at her mother. Mom, Sarah's got this. Catherine studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded. All right. But Sarah, I need you to promise me something. Of course. If at any point you feel overwhelmed, if you need help, you'll tell us. Because if this wedding is anything less than perfect, it will be more than perfect, Mrs. Morrison. It will be unforgettable. I wasn't lying. I was about to make sure every single person in Charleston's social scene would remember this wedding. Just not for the reasons the Morrisons expected. Over the next 3 weeks, I worked harder than I'd ever worked in my life. 18-hour days, no weekends, no breaks. I confirmed and reconfirmed every vendor. I personally inspected every flower arrangement, every menu item, every decoration detail. I also made some strategic additions to the vendor list. The wedding photographer I hired? His wife was a social media influencer with 80,000 followers who specialized in Charleston society events. She'd be posting live updates throughout the wedding. The videographer? He ran a YouTube channel called Charleston Elite Events with 120,000 subscribers. I gave him full access to film everything. The band? They'd recently performed at a wedding attended by 3 different magazine editors. I made sure all 3 were on the guest list as Victoria's surprise guests. I was turning the Morrison wedding into the most documented, most photographed, most publicly visible event of the Charleston social season. And I was going to make damn sure everyone knew who'd planned it. Brandon, meanwhile, had lawyered up and was fighting the dissolution. His attorney sent threatening letters claiming I'd locked him out of the business illegally, that I was acting in bad faith, that his accident had nothing to do with the partnership dispute. Marcus's response was simple. We submitted the security footage from the Rose Garden estate to Brandon's attorney, along with the LLC formation documents and bank withdrawal records. Brandon's lawyer dropped the case 3 days later. Jennifer tried a different approach. She started posting on social media about supporting friends through difficult times and ethical business practices. She even sent me a text, Sarah, I'm so sorry about everything. Brandon told me you two had broken up months ago. I had no idea you were still together. Can we talk? I deleted it without responding. The morning of the Morrison wedding, I woke up at 4 a.m. with a strange sense of calm. Everything was ready, every detail confirmed, every backup plan in place. I put on my best professional dress, not the one I'd been planning to wear, but a new one I'd bought specifically for this day. Deep emerald green, tailored perfectly, with a subtle Charleston Weddings logo pin on the lapel. My company, my brand, my victory. The Rose Garden Estate had never looked more beautiful. The ceremony would be in the garden at sunset, followed by a reception in the grand ballroom. 500 guests, orchestra, 7-course dinner, custom cocktails, a cake that cost more than most people's cars. At 2 p.m., 5 hours before the ceremony, I was doing final checks when my phone buzzed. "Brandon, we need to talk." I stared at the message for a moment, then blocked his number. At 3 p.m., Jennifer showed up at the estate. "I'm sorry, miss, you're not on the vendor list or the guest list." Security stopped her at the gate. "I'm here to see Sarah Chen. Tell her it's Jennifer Winters." The security guard radioed me. I walked to the gate myself. Jennifer looked different than she had in the security footage. Tired, nervous. "What do you want?" I kept my voice flat. "Sarah, please, can we just talk? I made a mistake. Brandon lied to me. He told me you two were over, that the business was failing, that you filed an LLC with him as a silent partner while he was still in business with me. You contacted my clients to try to steal them. You funded your company with money he embezzled from our accounts." I crossed my arms. Which part of that was Brandon lying to you? I didn't know about the embezzlement. I swear I didn't know he was stealing. But you knew he was still my partner. You knew we were engaged. You saw the ring on my hand at the Harrison wedding 6 months ago, the same wedding where Victoria Morrison had decided to hire me. The same wedding where Brandon must have been gathering intelligence. You made your choices, Jennifer. Now you get to live with them. Please. I'm sorry. I just wanted. You wanted what? My business? My clients? My life? I leaned closer. You can't have them. And after today, you won't even have a business. Because everyone in Charleston is going to see what real wedding planning looks like. They're going to see what happens when someone actually cares about their clients instead of just trying to make a quick profit, and they're going to remember who did it. I turned and walked back toward the estate, leaving Jennifer standing at the gate. The wedding was perfect. No, it was better than perfect. It was magical. The ceremony started exactly on time. The sun set at the precise moment Victoria and her groom exchanged vows, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink that looked like something out of a fairy tale. The photography from Marcus Chen, not Brandon, was spectacular. The food was exquisite. The band played exactly the right mix of classics and modern hits. And through it all, I moved like a ghost, invisible but essential. Fixing a crooked boutonniere here, redirecting a lost guest there, ensuring every moment flowed seamlessly into the next. At one point, Mrs. Morrison found me in the hallway coordinating the cake cutting. "Sarah." Her eyes were wet. I don't have words. Victoria is so happy. This is everything we dreamed of and more." "That's my job, Mrs. Morrison. Making dreams come true." "No." She took my hand. "This is beyond professional. This is artistry. After what you've been through these past few weeks, to still deliver something this beautiful. You're remarkable. Thank you. That means everything to me." I heard about the partnership dissolution, about Jennifer Winters trying to poach our wedding. I kept my expression neutral. News travels fast in Charleston. It does. And by tomorrow morning, everyone at this wedding will know exactly who planned it. I'm going to make sure of that. She squeezed my hand. "You've earned more than just my gratitude tonight. You've earned my loyalty and my recommendation to every single person in my social circle." At 11 p.m., as the last dance ended and the guests began to leave, I finally let myself breathe. We'd done it. The wedding was flawless. The social media posts were already rolling in. The influencer photographer's wife had posted 17 updates, each one tagged number Sarah Chen Events. The videographer had filmed everything. The magazine editors were already talking about featuring it in their spring issues. I'd won. Mrs. Chen found me on the patio, watching the cleanup crew work. "You should be proud," she said. "I am. But I'm also exhausted. Come, sit with me for a minute." We settled into the same chairs where I'd watched Brandon and Jennifer on that security footage 3 weeks ago. "I want to tell you something I should have told you that night." "What's that?" "Fighting back doesn't always mean revenge. Sometimes it just means refusing to let someone else write your story." She looked out at the garden, at the fairy lights still twinkling in the trees. 43 years ago, I lost everything because I didn't fight. I let my husband and his mistress take my business, my reputation, my confidence. It took me 10 years to rebuild. But you did rebuild. This estate is successful because I learned from my mistakes. I learned to trust my instincts. I learned that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who'll hurt you worst. And I learned that the best revenge isn't destroying them, it's succeeding without them. I thought about Brandon, probably still in his hospital bed, still maintaining his fake injury. About Jennifer, whose business would never recover from the reputation hit she was about to take when word spread about what she'd tried to do. About the future I'd almost let them steal from me. "Thank you," I said, "for warning me, for helping me, for believing I could do this." "You didn't need my belief, Sarah. You already had your own." She stood up slowly. "Now go home. Get some sleep. Tomorrow, you're going to wake up to more client inquiries than you know what to do with. Your real work is just beginning." She was right. By noon the next day, I had 47 new inquiries through my website. By the end of the week, I'd booked 6 new weddings, 3 of them for clients who'd originally been on Jennifer's list. Brandon's recovery was suddenly miraculous. He walked out of the hospital 2 days after the Morrison wedding, his spine apparently healed. He moved in with Jennifer. Their company, Winters and Associates Event Planning, lost 12 clients in 10 days. The business dissolution was finalized a month later. Brandon got his original $5,000 investment back. I kept everything else, the client list, the vendor relationships, the company name, the reputation, and the lessons. 6 months later, I was meeting with a potential client at a coffee shop downtown when someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around and found myself looking at a man about my age, maybe a year or 2 older, with kind eyes and a nervous smile. "I'm so sorry to interrupt," he said. "But are you Sarah Chen, the wedding planner?" "I am. I'm David Park. I'm a family law attorney downtown. I attended the Morrison wedding, friend of the groom's family, and I just wanted to say, that was the most beautiful event I've ever been to. You made it look effortless." "Thank you." "It wasn't effortless, but I appreciate the compliment. I'm actually here because, well, this is awkward, but my sister is getting married next spring. She saw the Morrison wedding photos and videos online, and she's been begging me to reach out to you. Her name is Jennifer Park, different Jennifer," he added quickly, and I couldn't help but laugh. "She's a pediatric nurse, marrying her college sweetheart. Budget's modest, but she's got big dreams. I was wondering if you might have any availability to meet with her." I should have said no. My calendar was already packed. I was booked solid through the next year with high-budget society weddings. Taking on a modest budget client would mean less profit, more work. But something about the way he asked genuine, hopeful, without any expectation that I'd say yes, reminded me why I'd gotten into this business in the first place. I'd love to meet her. Have her call my office to set up a consultation. "Really? Thank you. She's going to be thrilled." He started to leave, then turned back. "I also wanted to say, I heard what happened with your former partner. The whole situation. Charleston's a small town, word gets around." My smile faded slightly. "I'm sure it does. What you did, the way you handled it, that took courage. A lot of people would have just walked away, let the business collapse, taken the easy route. But you fought for what was yours. I respect that." After he left, I sat there for a long moment, thinking about courage and choices and the difference between revenge and justice. I'd spent 3 weeks planning the Morrison wedding, 3 weeks working harder than I'd ever worked, pushing myself to create something so undeniably perfect that no one could question my talent or my dedication. I hadn't done it to destroy Brandon and Jennifer, though their reputations had certainly suffered. I'd done it to prove to myself that I didn't need them, that everything I'd built, Everything I'd achieved was mine, my work, my vision, my success. And now, sitting in this coffee shop, with a calendar full of bookings and a future full of possibility, I realized something important. The best revenge wasn't making them suffer, it was being happy without them. My phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Chen. "Come by the estate tomorrow. I have a business proposal for you." I smiled and typed back, "I'll be there." 3 months later, I hired David Park's sister to plan her pediatric nurse wedding. 6 months after that, David and I went on our first date. A year after that, he proposed not with a dramatic gesture or an elaborate plan, but with a simple question over dinner. "I think you're remarkable. Will you marry me?" I said yes. And when it came time to plan our wedding, I didn't hire someone else. I planned it myself, with Mrs. Chen's help, at the Rose Garden Estate. Small, intimate, exactly what we wanted. Brandon and Jennifer weren't invited. I heard through the Charleston gossip mill that their business had closed 6 months after the Morrison wedding. Last I checked, Brandon was working as a freelance photographer, and Jennifer had taken a job in her family's real estate company. I wished them well. Not because I'd forgiven them, I'm not sure I ever fully did, but because holding on to anger was exhausting, and I had better things to do with my energy. Like building an empire. Like planning a life. Like proving every single day that the best revenge is living well.